So this is another new one. This is the younger guys and girls are not gonna know who this is, but this is LT Lawrence Taylor. He played for the Giants, the New York Giants back in the 80s, one of the best. I think he was a defensive end or a linebacker.
I was a linebacker. I was here for this actually. Yeah, I recognized him once I saw him. He had the earring in his ear. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a lifelong Democrat, and it's just interesting what he says. That's another former NFL player.
I just want to say, I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here. I'll tell you what. He will not have to worry about nobody in my family ever vote for a Democrat again. Okay.
Lawrence Taylor.
I've been there.
What is he up to these days?
We talked about what's his name, Andrew Tate, in the past, and he maintains his innocence. So this is all BS. These are people trying to shake me down. And so it was just announced. Actually, going back, let's see, what was the date on this? This was end of April, a couple weeks ago, basically, that he and his brother and 2 Romanian citizens are being formally charged now on human trafficking. Because what happens, they got arrested initially, and they did their investigation. They confiscated their cars, their crypto, their computers, all kinds of things, and have been doing their investigations. And Tate and his brother have not. I think they've not been allowed to leave the country. They have to stay there. And so what's interesting is a few weeks before this happened, Tate did a podcast with another podcaster, and his message was, hey, if you ever want to have me on your podcast again, now would be the time to do it, because I'm not going to be here to do any more. And so I guess the authorities in Romania were probably monitoring his communications, and I guess this podcaster released that publicly. And so to them, it looks like he's getting ready to flee and take off and leave the country. So they arrested him, or went to his house. I think confiscated his passports or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna leave. But then this comes out that they're formally charging him, and he's going to go to court over it. Because they've been saying for the last year, oh, this is BS. We haven't been charged. Nothing's happening. This is just not. It's a witch hunt kind of thing. I'm just a victim. It's the deep state coming after me. And we did some videos where we discussed that stuff.
Yeah, at Veritas, we were on to him, actually. We were investigating him a couple of years ago.
Because if you look at the Full Send podcast that he did probably about, I guess a year ago, last summer was it, I think it was, where he's talking about how he made all his money, and he would have these podcast or webcam girls, and they're sitting in front of the computer typing away on the keyboard, and when they initially started, the girls couldn't get any money out of these guys. And, they were just being too nice and talking. They're not really getting anywhere. And he's like, so they unplugged the keyboards. And he's laughing about this because it's all in the podcast. He's laughing that, the girls are banging away in the keyboard. The keyboards are actually unplugged. And it's Andrew Tate and his brother and the rest of their employees are actually the ones corresponding with these men. And the whole idea is to convince these guys, hey, if you send this girl money, she's going to be able to pay your debts off and then come and, live with you in your country, and you'll live happily ever after. But obviously that's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just a scam, basically. And so he made tens of millions of dollars basically ripping dudes off. I mean, there were guys that took their equity out of their houses and gave it to them, or they thought they were giving it to the girl. And, of course, the girls never meet these guys. And then they had a whole thing where they manipulated the guy, where the woman would go no contact, in essence, in order to manipulate the guy and really get him emotionally hooked. And then the guy would start apologizing, and she would slowly start talking to him again. But again, it's not really her; it's the dudes, because they're just emotionally manipulating these guys to get them to part with their money. And the podcaster was like, "Do you feel guilty for what you did?" And he's like, "Fuck no," and he laughs about it. And all the podcasters laugh with him, and they thought it was really funny. But, these are dudes' lives, and they stole and ripped off tens of millions of dollars. You can say, well, if the guys did that, well, they're idiots and they're gullible, and, you deserve what you get. But just the whole fucking attitude that he had, where he laughs about it, and he presents himself as some virtuous dude. In reality, I think it was it Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, the real pretty one?
Mm-hmm.
She met him, and she said, when I got in the car with him, I felt like I was with a shark.
Yeah, everything I've heard, he's not a good dude. I know a lot of people like him, they're fans of him. I don't care what he thinks. Everything I've read and seen and the stuff that we were investigating him for years ago, we knew some things, and he's not a good dude by any means. And I didn't even know what you just described.
Gangster.
Yeah, I didn't even know about the keyboard thing until you just said it.
It's on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, and people are, especially people on the right, Tucker Carlson, everybody, they're all kind of drooling all over him. But he's a fucking dirtbag. He's just he's like a Nigerian Prince scam type of guy. And his attitude is, who cares? If you're too stupid to know what we're doing, well, you deserve what you get. That's kind of how the elite think.
There's another thing where he was accused of using, like, quote, the lover boy method.
Yeah.
And then
that's what he's getting prosecuted for.
Yeah. And then he went on, he talked about it. I forget exactly where, but he talked about it on podcasts where he admitted to doing that. And then later on, he said, I never did that. I never said that. So he
incriminated himself for years.
Yeah.
And all that video is out there. So there's a huge, body of evidence.
Yeah.